All right, today we are diving into a book that, and I'm not exaggerating here, might just change the way you think about, well, thinking. Daniel Kahneman's Thinking, Fast and Slow is more than just a book. It's kind of like a mirror held up to the bizarre and, let's be honest, often totally irrational machinery inside our own heads. And you know the most humbling part? Kahneman himself, the guy who won a Nobel Prize for this work, openly admits he falls for these exact same mental traps. So if the master isn't safe, what hope is there for the rest of us? Let's get into it. To really nail down the core of this, a critique by Santiago Duran just says it perfectly. We are not the masters of our own thoughts. We are merely the passengers of a biological machine. That's it. That is the haunting central message of this whole thing. That gut feeling we're so proud of, that intuition we trust with our lives, Kahneman basically argues it's just our brain being lazy, taking a shortcut right through a minefield of logic. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to pull back the curtain and look at the actual blueprint of our minds. We're going to map out all those predictable and, frankly, irrational patterns that are secretly running the show. Okay, so the whole book is built around this one brilliant idea, this metaphor. Our mind is run by two totally different characters. So let's meet the real stars of your mental show. So on one side, you've got System 1. Think of it as the Impulsive Hero. It's lightning fast, it's automatic, and it's where all your gut feelings come from. It runs on basically zero effort. Then on the other side, you have System 2, the lazy controller. This one is slow, it's deliberate, it takes real effort to get it going. It's supposed to be the voice of reason, but honestly, a lot of the time it just looks at what System 1 did and rubber stamps it. And the golden rule for System 1 is this crazy-sounding acronym, WYSATI. It stands for What You See Is All There Is. See, our brain is, at its core, a storytelling machine. It grabs whatever scraps of information are lying around and instantly weaves them into a story that makes sense. The problem, it completely ignores everything it doesn't know. And that right there is the source of so much of our dangerous overconfidence. And that tendency, relying on just the bits and pieces we can see, well, it leads us straight into what Kahneman calls the cognitive minefield. Our brain is trying to save energy, so it uses these mental shortcuts, these heuristics. But the thing is, these shortcuts are often just well-worn paths that lead us directly into some very predictable traps. First on the list is anchoring. Have you ever noticed this? When you're buying a car, that first price you see, the sticker price, it completely sets the stage for the whole negotiation. That first number becomes an anchor, and it has this huge, powerful pull on every other number that comes after it, even if it was totally random to begin with. Then you've got the availability heuristic. This one's wild. You know how after a big plane crashes on the news for a week, people suddenly become way more afraid of flying than driving? Well, statistically, driving is way, way more dangerous. So why does this happen? It's because that dramatic, vivid image of a plane crash is just so much more available in our memory. And oh man, this next one is just so sneaky. It's called substitution. Let's say you ask someone a really tough question, like, all things considered, how happy are you with your life? Their brain, without them even knowing, might just secretly answer an easier question, like, how am I feeling right now? We pull this bait and switch on ourselves all the time. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about how our brains deal with risk and with money. This is the stuff that actually won Kahneman his Nobel Prize. It's called prospect theory, and it all starts with this simple but incredibly powerful imbalance. At the heart of it all is this one simple truth. The emotional wallop you feel from losing $100 is just way, way worse than the pleasure you get from finding $100. We are fundamentally wired to avoid losses. In fact, the research actually put a number on it. The psychological sting of a loss is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of an equivalent win. Think about that. This one simple idea, loss aversion, drives so much of what we do, from playing the stock market to making huge career choices. But believe it or not, it gets even weirder. Kahneman makes the case that you aren't even one single unified person. Nope. Instead, you're actually made up of two totally different selves, often in conflict. So say hello to your two selves. First, there's the experiencing self. This is the part of you that lives completely in the moment. It's what feels joy, pain, boredom right this second. But here's the kicker. The one in charge, the one who calls the shots, is the remembering self. It's the storyteller. It's the one that keeps score. And most importantly, it's the one that makes all the big decisions about your future.
So how does this remembering self decide what was a good or bad experience? Well, it uses something called the peak-end rule. It doesn't care about the average of the experience or how long it lasted. It basically only remembers two things: the single most intense moment, the peak, and how the whole thing ended. This is why an amazing 2-week vacation can be completely ruined in your memory by a miserable last day at the airport.
So, you might be thinking, if our minds are just this chaotic collection of biases, shortcuts, and faulty memories, are we just doomed? Are we destined to make bad choices forever? Well, not entirely. Kahneman does offer us a kind of blueprint for how we can protect ourselves from, well, from ourselves. The very first step is just acceptance. We have to admit that we are not econs, those perfectly logical, rational beings from economics textbooks. We are humans, and we are predictably irrational. And what that means is that we have to stop trying to outsmart our own brains. Instead, we need to design our world, our systems, what you might call a choice architecture, that actually protects us from our worst impulses.
So, what does that look like in practice? It really boils down to 3 things. First, just learn to recognize the signs that you're walking into a cognitive minefield, a situation where your gut is likely to be wrong. Second, when you see those red flags, just slow down. And third, you have to actively wake up that lazy controller. Force your system to get off the couch and do the hard work of checking the facts and thinking things through.
And really, that's what it all comes down to. It leaves us with this one final, really powerful question. Now that you know your mind is built for speed, not accuracy, for telling good stories, not for crunching statistics, what are you going to do about it? How can you actually design your life, your habits, and your choices to protect you from your own brilliance but deeply flawed mind?